All right, ladies and gentlemen, so as you guys are aware, Avowed is that video game that everybody is talking about right now, and for obvious reasons. Avowed is a video game that had a lot of controversy simply because the art director over at Avowed decided it was in his best interest to try to ruin the release of the video game for everybody that he's worked for. He decided to have a little bit of a melty melt on Elon Musk and go crazy and basically threaten Elon Musk and say that he wants to make him even more mad and that he cannot wait for Elon Musk to see the defaults in the video game. Well, at the end of the day, Avowed has officially released, at least in early access anyway, and people have varying opinions on it, myself included. I am currently reviewing the video game on Griffcast right now, but one of the things that they have done recently I find to be very interesting, and that is the fact that the pronouns in the video game are apparently now removable and optional. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this was not seemingly the case just a few months ago. It's almost as if they decided to patch out the game and make it optional for you to have pronouns or not. It's also very interesting, as I was playing the video game, that it just felt as if some of the customization features were missing, almost as if they removed it from the game due to all the backlash. For example, you can't do anything to your body in the game. The only thing you can customize, aside from skin color, is your facial features. That is literally it. Anything on your body you can't do. You can't even add a tattoo, and it just seems a little bit odd to me. So let's get into this video, guys, from That Part Plays. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, guys, there are varying opinions on Avowed, and before I get into this article, I want to show you a gameplay snippet of when I was going through the character creator and I first discovered that you can have optional pronouns in the game and that they are not forced on you. Check it out. Identifier he, she, they. Let's see the difference. All right, so we're going to go with she. We're going to go with a female voice. And we're going to go with they. Display identifier in player character sheet. Oh, so you can display. So you could choose whether or not you want to display your pronouns. You can choose whether you want to display your pronouns in the character sheet or not. So now that you guys saw that little tidbit of gameplay, I want to showcase to you the discussion that's happening right now. So people are thinking that the pronoun stuff was edited out after the fact, just because of what Matt Hansen decided to say in the beginning and how it seemed like it was not going to be optional. It seemed like everything was going to be forced upon you in terms of pronouns, but then we find out that's not the case. Now we have Grumps making a post that I don't know if I necessarily agree with yet, simply because there's no confirmation that it was actually like this or not like this from the beginning. We don't know if the pronouns were 100% forced upon you, because the only thing that we have from the initial video game and the screenshots that were being shared around was the simple fact that there was pronouns in the game in general, right? It was showcasing pronouns in the character sheet, but it wasn't actually showing pronouns in the character creator. So we don't know if this was around or not around since the beginning, but it does feel like it was in fact patched out just simply because of what Matt Hansen says. But again, I want you guys to have the truth and that it's not confirmed whether or not this has been done or not. But let's see what Grumps has to say. Avowed, the highly anticipated first-person fantasy RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, and again, I don't know if it's highly anticipated, but that's besides the point, is currently out in early access, and players have already discovered a major concession concerning pronoun features. Despite months of controversies and bold rhetoric from art director Matt Hansen, it's now possible to disable pronoun display in the game setting. This discovery was first reported on X by former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern, also known as Grumps. Now, again, guys, I want to be very clear. We do not know if this was in the game prior to, anything. We have no idea. We can only base it off of what we do know and what we've seen before, right? And I want you guys to understand something. This very well might be a concession. It very well might not be a concession. But what I do know is that Avowed is not doing too well right now. Now, let's look at the numbers and let's look at them honestly. If we look back here at Avowed, you can see that right now their all-time peak was 9,000 270 players on Steam. Now, here's a couple of facts for you guys to consider. Number one, Avowed is a Game Pass video game, okay? That alone is going to hurt this game tremendously. And I know it benefits gamers looking to play the game for essentially free because they're basically subscribed to Game Pass anyway. I don't view Avowed as a video game that people are going to run out and go subscribe to Game Pass in order to play day one. I don't view this kind of game as such. The people who are playing this game on Game Pass had already had Game Pass, in my opinion, the majority of them. So I don't really think this is going to be a Game Pass moneymaker. This is going to be a Game Pass, keep people subscribed kind of video game. And that's why I view Game Pass as a monster that constantly needs feeding. And it's being fed these AAA games that are costing hundreds of millions of dollars to make from Western studios, and they're never making their money back. It's not even close to making their money back. Right now, you know that it has an all-time peak of about 9,200 players on Steam, which means that that's how many players, on average bought the game. Obviously, it's more than that because it's just concurrent numbers. So probably you're looking at, let's be honest, you're probably looking at like 50,000 sales, 60,000 sales on Steam, give or take, right? Based off this number alone. Not exactly very good for an RPG from Obsidian that costs a lot of money, obviously, right? So you got to wonder, okay, people are going to cope and see, then they're going to say, well, people are playing on Game Pass and it's successful because of that. That's not true. We've seen so many Game Pass games flop simply because the majority of people played it on Game Pass and didn't even bother buying the game. That's the problem. It's no different than all these shills out there on Twitter deciding to be angry at the people who spent $90 like myself to have early access and to give the review honestly versus people that got review copies that never support the video games they say that they love, never support the video games and companies they say they enjoy. They just want to get free stuff and utilize it to the best of their ability, so they get all the gain and the company gets nothing, right? So it's absolute fucking nonsense what people are saying about this game. The simple fact is that it hit a concurrent of 9,270. The fact number one is that it's a Game Pass game. The fact number two is that it's an early access, okay? So this game is not officially released until the 18th. So I view this number as quadrupling. I really do. I think this number is probably going to reach maybe around 30, maybe 40,000 if it's lucky when it officially releases. But right now at early access, I got to be honest with you, I might be a little bit over. And the reason why is because having a little under 10,000 for the people who are most hype about your game versus people that weren't that hype, so they didn't even want to bother paying for early access, I gotta imagine you're probably not going to see that much of a jump. But again, I'm going to go with 30 to 40,000 to play it on the safe side, and then we'll see what number. It could be higher. Who knows? We'll see what number ends up showing up from there. But as of right now, I want to be very clear. Grubbs is making this statement saying, "We win again," Kern declared. Avowed forced to add an option to disable pronouns in the game. Whatever Matt Hansen was threatening with the default and putting wokeness in the game, he's been soundly rebuked. He hasn't posted to social media in 2 months. Well, that's probably because they took away his privileges. Let's be real. They probably said, if you want to keep working here, you need to stop posting on social media and shut the fuck up. That's basically what's happening. Curran, a longtime critic of DEI initiatives in gaming, didn't stop there. He doubled down, pointing out that while the option to remove pronouns is the victory for players, the larger issue of Hansen's leadership and behavior remains unresolved. It says, even if we added an option to remove pronouns, I can't support a studio that does nothing with their art director. It spouses racist and illegal hiring practices and frauds at the mouth to basically own Elon and the chuds. This attitude needs to be eliminated from AAA. I agree that the attitude needs to be eliminated from AAA, but I also understand that it's everywhere in AAA, right? So the whole notion about people saying, don't buy video games from people that hate you, I want you to understand every video game that you ever have purchased, there is somebody in the studio that hates you. Somebody. It's the sad truth. There is somebody at the studio in AAA gaming, or even sometimes AA and indie, because we've seen it everywhere. There is somebody at the studio that hates gamers. And I don't know why this is a thing in the gaming industry, where it's one of the only industries where the people who work there absolutely hate the ones they sell products to. But that's just the fucking truth. If you're buying video games based off whether or not developers like you or not, you're not going to be buying many video games. Let's just be honest here. So you got to judge the video game, and you got to separate the art from the artist, and you got to look at it and be, a little bit critical about whether or not the game itself stands on its own, and screw the developers. You can absolutely roast them, don't get me wrong, and you can prove to everybody and showcase online exactly how piece of shit they are, but ultimately buying the video game should be based on the video game and not so much the developer as a whole. And I understand people are going to disagree with that. That's okay, but I also need you guys to understand, look at your video game catalog. I guarantee you have games from people that fucking hate you. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.